Hi there. This video will describe some secondary character movement refinements that we may need or may want to set up or need to set up depending on how we set up our game so far. So we're going to talk about how to reduce or remove out the horizontal rotation of the character due to the rigid body so that we can not have the character rotate as it's moving around the scene. And then we'll also talk about how to adjust some of the connections to the platform so we can reduce wall ride, kind of jumps on walls, and then the ability to be able to jump through a platform and jump on top of it in case your game particularly would like to have that function. Here's where we have started before. The previous video we created some moving platforms that we can jump on and the character gets parented underneath. So both the vertical and horizontal ones work properly. One note is that if I fall off the side of a platform, I start to rotate, and that's just an option. It's a rigid body option that we can turn on and off. If you want the character to kind of rotate naturally or not, we can turn that off. If you want just a simple side-scrolling platformer game that does not have this, the character would stay completely vertical. And then something else that we can adjust is we really have it to where we can kind of wall ride up a surface. Kind of hard to see right now. I'll show you in a little bit with that one. And then we can't jump underneath a platform to be able to jump on top of that platform. Some games have the ability to where you can kind of jump from underneath the platform and then jump on the top of it. Right now we don't currently have that set up. So we'll talk about those particular ways to refine in this video. So the first one's pretty easy and quick. It is turning off the ability to rotate the character. And this is actually in the rigid body component. So if I hit the player, select the player, and then in the inspector there's the rigid body 2D. And if I open up the constraints, there's an option called freeze rotation. Right now it's not frozen, which means it rotates around according to gravity and how it's interacting with other objects. If I turn on freeze rotation, it's underneath constraints there, and I hit play, I no longer have that ability when I fall off something to rotate off of it. So all the same gravity and physics and actions that we've set up so far still work, but I don't have that option to kind of rotate to fall off anymore. So that works better for when we have like character sprites and things like that, where we want to replicate the ability to jump on and off of an object but not rotate off of it. Alright, so that's kind of the first thing we're going to refine. The next thing is the way that these platforms can allow or not allow the object to wall ride jump above it on the side. So let me just increase the scale of my platform. Maybe I'll do it to 3, or let's do it 6. There we go, really large over here. I'm going to move it over here out of the way of my horizontal moving platform. Maybe I'll move my horizontal moving one over even more. Alright, so let's go test this out. So if I go play, and if I try to jump up the platform with just a simple jump, my collisions is there, but if I actually continue to hit jump, I can jump up that wall. So I create this kind of wall ride to get up here. And that could be a feature, an option you want to keep, but if you don't want to have the player have the ability to be able to wall ride or jump up a wall, we can make a quick adjustment to reduce that motion. So the character has to be on top in order to jump or connecting with the top of a platform. So to do this, we're actually going to create a secondary empty object. So if I go to the plus symbol in the hierarchy, I'm going to choose create empty, and I'm going to rename this one platform grounded C for collider. You can say grounded cull for collider as well. Platform grounded cull. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do, because I'm going to make a prefab out of this, is reset the transform, so it puts it back in the middle. I am going to create a icon, so we'll do a gray icon to signify this will be a collider. I need to add a 2D collision box, so let's do add component, and I can type in box collider 2D. And I know my horizontal size of my platforms is 3, so let's just do something like type in 3. But I don't want it to be the exact same size. I want it to actually be a little smaller so it doesn't clip the sides of it. So let's do 2.9. Might need to adjust that later. For the X, and I'm not changing the scale, I'm in the box collider. And then for the box collider size Y, let's do 0.05. So it's a really thin collider. Basically what that allows me to do is the player has to be on top of this and will drastically reduce if the player can jump on the side. Now technically the player can still jump on the side if it gets really close, but this drastically reduces it so we don't have any wall ride options anymore. Alright, so we've named it, we've added an icon, we've added the box collider and changed the size. Before we do anything else, if you remember from our previous horizontal moving and vertical moving platforms, we added a layer called platforms that determines if the player can be parented and also jump off of that platform. So let's do layer and change that to platforms. So basically the player can collide with this, and if the player is on top of this blank object, the new platform grounded collision, then they can jump. Alright, so finally what we're going to do is convert this into a prefab so we can duplicate and use it over and over again. So let's select this into, or drag this down to the prefabs folder. So that converts this into a prefab. And then now we have the movement options, and I'm going to move it over here to the top of my platform that I have on the right side of my screen. Alright, so here we go, so I'll move it down. So maybe we'll go into the platform, or prefab for it, and make it a little larger. Let's do 2.95. Okay, so now if I go back and select it, I think that'll work there. It looks a little better. All right, so I don't want it to be the full size of it. I kind of want to be inset just a little bit. All right, so that's in place, and then now all I can do is find that platform, which is platform 3 here, and drag select my platform grounded collision underneath the parented underneath that platform. So basically that collider will still move with the platform. I guess I need to make adjustments visually to it. Let's see. Okay, but the difference is I have my layers platforms layer selected for my new platform grounded collider. I want to remove that layers from the platform itself. And when I remove it from the platform itself, yes, let's change the children. Then it's not going to give me the option to wall ride up this platform or wall. So let's play and test. Alright, so I can still jump, but there's no way I can double jump to get up this wall right now. I'm spam hitting spacebar. So I'm going to have to come over here to this horizontal moving platform and jump on top of it, and then it's going to allow me to get this to work properly. Okay, one thing that might happen is because we did apply to children when we removed that layer, it actually did remove it from the new collider. So we're going to go back and add it back to platform there. So we can make sure in here it's added back properly, but we also need to make sure that if we parent and then do that order of operations where we remove the platform layer from the platform, we need to go back and make sure that it is going to be added to that collider object. So now we can go back and test. Get over here and jump up. Yep, so I can still jump on top of it, but if I come down the side, there's no way I can wall ride up this now. So now simply, I can take that platform and then let's go down to my other ones, and let's just go ahead and remove the layer for these other platforms back to layer default. And then let's duplicate that collision, drag it underneath our other platforms that we have. I want to duplicate again, drag it under another platform. And then now we can kind of move these around. Let's find which one's which here. So that one goes to this one. Change the position later. And this one goes over here to this one. There you go. Alright, so I can move this over, move it up some. Zoom in to get a little closer. There we go, select this one. Move down a little. That's pretty good. And I can also duplicate this to my other platforms that I have, my moving platforms. So let's do Control D. And move that underneath. I'm going to move it underneath a moving for platform. There you go, that'll work. And this is the vertical one, so I'll move that one over there. Oh, actually, before I do that, yeah, that'll be fine. Platforms. All right, yep. So we're going to remove the platform layer for this one. Yeah, children should be fine there. And then we'll come in here to this one and do remove the layer. There we go. So then now when we duplicate, move it underneath, that's not going to cause an issue with the layer platform. So we'll duplicate again, move that one underneath the horizontal one. And then we can come over here and make our adjustments to the position. Select that one. All right, there we go. All right, so now when we play, everything should still work, but now we don't have any option to kind of wall ride up objects. So I can still jump, still collide with things, but there's no way for me to kind of wall ride up surfaces like I could earlier. So that's another way to kind of refine our movement here. The last way is to give the option to be able to jump underneath the platform and jump on top of it. So in essence, it's kind of two different ways we can do this. In essence, while we've had our setup with our new grounded platform, like this one right here, where's that one? That one right there. What I can do is simply, since I have the top platform, there's two ways I could do this. I could just come into the platform itself and remove the box collider. So if I remove this box collider, remove component, and hit play, that's going to allow me to kind of jump through that. I still can't jump through the top of it. Okay, so something like that. But that removes the ability for me being stuck in that, so I can actually jump and collide or overlap that collision. So I could do that, or I'm going to undo so the box collider's back on there. And what I can do instead is, let's with the platform, I have to do this kind of twice considering I have the secondary collider here. So let's just move this collider over for a second. What I want to do with the platform itself is I could potentially add a platform effector. And if I type in new component, platform effector, there's a platform effector 2D. And this effector 2D gives me the opportunity to say use one way. Okay, and if use one way is on, I hit play, see what happens now. Move away from that imaginary one. So I don't have my boundary set. Oh, actually, we need to, that's give me a warning as well, which means I need to turn on use effector. So if I go down with that platform selected in the box collider, I need to turn on use by effector. Like I said, it'll give me the arc, which basically means I need to jump from the top of my composition in order to collide with the top of it. So use by effector, and then one way, use one way, turn that on. So now if I come over here and I jump from the bottom of it, I can now jump from the bottom of it, not collide with the bottom of it, but then when I'm jumping, I can give the option to collide with that object now. So that way it gives me another variation here to be able to jump and collide with it. Okay. Okay, so this method does not work as well with a secondary collider. We'd have to set up a couple other things. So for this secondary method, I'm just going to delete that platform ground collider. And for this one, when I do this, if I go back and look at this, jump back on top of it, I no longer can jump because I removed my platform layer once I'm colliding with that platform. So I need to go back with that platform and add that platform layer back to this. Okay. So now when I play, I can jump on top of it and still have the option to jump, but I can jump from the bottom of it on top of it now. So I can bypass the collision from the bottom side, but from the top side I'm accepting that collision. Okay. Well, a couple of things to look at underneath the Platform Effector 2D. One of them is the sides and one of them is the surface arc. So if I drag the surface arc in, it says 180 as default. Right now, that basically means horizontally, it's going to give me the option to jump on the side and collide with it right there. Let's change that to, I don't know, so not 90, maybe 130, maybe 120. That's a little too much. Let's try less, 110. Actually, it should be 140. 140 something. There you go. 137. Let's just try that for now. So that'll reduce the area that the player can jump from the top point of view at an angle to be able to collide with it or not. So let's hit play. So now coming from like a top angle, I really do have to be, there it goes, kind of shows that overlap. I really have to be on top of that angle, that corner, in order for it to work. I can't look at it from a side now. There you go. I can overlap it from the side view, but I really have to be on top of it for that to work. We also have sides, and if I change the side arc as well, that I don't have any kind of friction or anything like that, but that can give me some options to add friction and bounce on the sides. If I want to bounce off a side instead of collide through it. But that side arc can give me some options for friction and bounce. I really need a physical material for that, which we're not going to get into in this particular video. So for right now, we don't need anything for the sides. But we can change that surface arc and to turn on if it's one way or not. If I turn off one way, then that kind of treats it just as it was before. It'll collide with it, jump on top of it, still works the same. So it's really not using anything if we just don't have the one way turned on. And then we're using the surface arc to change that angle. So now if we play with one way on, that's a different way that we can adjust platforms. So those are some other refinements that we added and adjusted here. The ability to not allow the character to rotate, the reduction of wall rod, and then the ability to kind of jump through a platform to land on top of it. All right, some simple ways to make some more refinements to the character movement.